Dungeons and Dragons in this economy? So this is a movie about Dungeons and Dragons called Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. If you've not subscribed, you really should, because people like us who don't play D&D will try and tell you why you should go see a D&D movie. We're professionals. So please join our very engaged and thoughtful film community. We'd love to have you. Alonso will tell you about the D&D movie.
Follow me to the orifice.
Back to school.
The orifice?
I'll go last.
To be fair, I have played Dungeons and Dragons, but it was about 45 years ago. So, take that for whatever it's worth. It could be totally different. Of course.
The die could have more sides on it now.
It all changed. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about this adaptation is like it's an IP where there really aren't set characters or adventures. It's a thing that, for the most part, players have been making up for themselves. However, there's at least one Easter egg that even I caught in this movie. So if you're a hardcore D&D person, I'm sure there's probably even more of them. Anyway, so Chris Pine stars as a former sort of noble spy turned thief and brigand, and winds up on a lengthy quest, because of course there's a quest, with his best friend, Michelle Rodriguez. Along the way, they get the services of a not so great sorcerer played by Justice Smith, and a shapeshifter played by Sophia Lillis, and some help from Rege-Jean Page, who may be great or terrible. They're not sure. All in the service of rescuing Chris Pine's daughter and taking down Hugh Grant and some really nasty wizards. This is directed by John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, who have a bit of a mixed record, I think, as filmmaking people, but they did direct Game Night, which is a movie that I adore. And I kind of wish this had been a little more like Game Night, in that at 2 hours and 15 minutes, you can feel the slag, the pacing kind of like slows down from time to time. But between those slow patches, there's a lot of funny stuff. There's a lot of exciting stuff. And so overall, I enjoyed this, although I wish it had been a tighter campaign.
Yeah, these filmmakers also did that remake of Vacation.
Yes, they did. And they had something to do with Horrible Bosses, I want to say.
They wrote Horrible Bosses movies. Yeah. Anyway, I did not have particularly high hopes going into this. It's March and it's a D&D movie. It premiered at South by Southwest to just a rapturous audience.
Yes.
Which also, again, like that's where you want to premiere a movie like this. That's who's going to love it and be psyched for it. So they were really smart to do that. But I didn't really trust that response.
Sure.
As one that will be reliable. And people, it's really smart. Like a big Judd Apatow movie will play at, opening night or whatever, South by Southwest, and it's going to be gangbusters. And so,
sure. If you're not in the Paramount, though, like how are the rest of us going to take it?
Right. So I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this. And so much of that has to do with Chris Pine's performance, because he's just snappy and breezy and dry and kind of arrogant. And we did a quick little out of the theater reaction. And I said, he's kind of doing a little bit of Han Solo and kind of doing a little bit of like Jason Bateman in everything, but mostly Arrested Development,
and Game Night for that matter.
Yeah. And just sort of like, just the way with like a tossed off one liner and just like so sarcastic and so dry. And, but like also there's a playfulness to him. And like, he's kind of the cheerleader for all these things, just through sheer like confidence and for no good reason. Like he's a failure at everything he does, but he's like, we're going to make this happen. And he's kind of delusional in that regard. And it's sort of a fun combination of stuff that he's doing. I don't think Chris Pine gets to be funny often enough.
It's true. Yeah, no, I think this movie lets him do a lot more of the things that he's capable of. And you're right. He does pull it off, and he brings the movie along with him. I'd say this is one of Michelle Rodriguez's best performances since like Girl Fight. I mean, not that she's not fun in the Fast and Furious movies, but I think she gets a lot more to play here, and she gets to be funny also, but also physical and all the stuff that she gets to bring to the table. And so ultimately, I think you have this really kind of fun ensemble. I've always liked Justice Smith a lot. So, that they definitely, keep this movie's spirits going, even when it's a lot of go to the place and get the thing, go to the place and get the thing.
But isn't that what D&D is? It's like using stuff you have to go to the place and get the thing.
It is. In fact, like, it's funny because years ago, when I saw the first Lord of the Rings movie and did not care for it, I joked that it was like watching somebody else play Dungeons and Dragons. And here we are with an actual Dungeons and Dragons movie. not to be confused with the terrible one with Jeremy Irons they did like about 20 years ago or whatever. But if you're going to make a Dungeons and Dragons movie, you do have to have, and it does have to be questy, you know, and it does have to have a mix of people who have different, you know, skill sets and different levels of, you know, accuracy or levels of talent with the thing that they do, whether it's being a thief, being a magician, you know, a wizard, whatever. They do what they can within those constraints, but they could have, you know, picked up the pace a little.
It does lag a bit. I feel like some of the action sequences kind of go on too long. I feel like there is some slowdown there in between the action sequences. Like the banter is quite frequently enough to keep it buoyed along there, but I did also feel the weight of the time. Why is Justice Smith British here? Like if Chris Pine's not and Michelle Rodriguez is not, why? And Sophia Lillis is not. Why is Justice Smith British? Just a question.
It's a choice. I don't know. I mean, I think there's a tendency a lot of times when we think of medieval equals British. I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to sound like Hugh Grant. I have no idea.
He's from Orange County. Yeah, Hugh Grant knows what movie he's in. Hugh Grant is fully embracing the villainy of his later career choices, and that's
for
kind
sure.
of fun.
Yeah, no, like I was fully expecting another Sondheim number in the closing credits, you know.
Ah, yeah. So, hey, what's the Easter egg? Can you say, or is it a spoiler?
I don't want to give it away for people
Okay.
who've played the game. I'll tell you off mic.
Okay, there's also a really cool cameo that I don't want to spoil.
Yes.
I laughed my ass off. I laughed my ass off quite a bit through this.
Yes, for
It
sure.
is fun.
And there
It's
are
breezy.
some individual sequences, like one involving the Sophia Lillis' character changing from animal to animal over the course of a lengthy chase that is elaborately choreographed and, like, I'm sure entirely made up of ones and zeros, but a lot of fun to watch.
That was really well done. And there's a thing they do with portals.
Yes,
that is fun, that works sometimes, but is even more entertaining when it doesn't work.
Yes.
And how they think on the fly. Yeah, I guess the whole thing where they're like, okay, we have plan A, we have plan B is an approximation of what it's like to play the game.
Kind of.
You know?
Yeah. You know, I did think about Clue occasionally in terms of like, stuff you have to include in the movie version or else people would feel like you missed it, you know.
There's also a mid-credit sequence.
Yes, but there are no dice. None.
Yeah, there's some fun wordplay also. I enjoyed, like, it is zippy. Anyway, I'm saying 7.2.
I said 7. I did mostly have a good time. I don't want to sound like I'm shitting on this, but I think it's the kind of movie that's frustrating because what's good is so good, you want the whole movie to be at that level. But if you're okay with it kind of coming in and out of awesomeness, you know, you'll have a good time.